The story begins with a woman named Jessica, whose husband passed away 6 months earlier. Unable to recover from the loss, she decides to leave her old life behind and make a fresh start. She packs everything she needs into a cargo trailer and sets off on a long road trip. Before leaving, she checks the map on her phone, revealing that she's heading out on a 4-day journey away from the city, hoping some time alone will help her heal. The trip starts peacefully, and Jessica enjoys the drive until she reaches a lonely highway that cuts through a dense forest. After a while, she catches up to a black SUV moving unusually slowly. Every time she tries to pass it, the driver suddenly speeds up. This continues for quite some time until Jessica finally loses patience and accelerates into the other lane to overtake it. But the SUV matches her speed, preventing her from getting back into her lane. At that very moment, a large truck comes racing toward her from the opposite direction, turning the situation into a near disaster. Fortunately, Jessica manages to squeeze past the SUV and return to her lane just seconds before impact. But the very next moment, the black SUV pulls up behind her, repeatedly blasting its horn. A little later, they reach an intersection and take separate roads. Relieved, Jessica pulls over for a moment to calm herself down. That evening, she stops at a gas station to refuel and calls her father. Their conversation reveals that Jessica doesn't have a good relationship with her mother, while her father hopes they'll eventually reconnect. But then Jessica notices the same black SUV pulling into the gas station. Realizing it's the same vehicle from earlier, she quickly gets back in her car and drives away. Later, she spends the night at a small roadside motel. After checking in, her mother calls, but Jessica ignores it. Before going to sleep, she looks through old photos of herself and her late husband. The memories overwhelm her, and she quietly breaks down in tears. The next morning, as she's leaving the motel, an unfamiliar man with his arm in a cast approaches her. Jessica is stunned because he's the same man who was driving the black SUV the previous evening. He apologizes, explaining that he'd been distracted by his phone while driving and didn't notice her car. Then he starts asking whether she lives nearby or is traveling somewhere. His questions make Jessica uncomfortable, so she ends the conversation and leaves. Soon, she crosses the city limits and finds herself back on another isolated highway through the woods. But before long, she spots the same black SUV parked in the middle of the road, with the same man standing beside it as if he had been waiting for her. Jessica immediately locks her doors and lowers her window just a little. The man claims his engine suddenly stopped working and asks if she can give him a ride to the nearest gas station. Putting her safety first, Jessica says she'll send a mechanic to help instead. However, he refuses and keeps insisting that she personally give him a ride. Now even more suspicious, Jessica drives away without another word. Late that night, she stops at another gas station and finally answers a call from her mother, who is upset because Jessica left town without telling anyone. Jessica explains that she's taking this trip because she wants to move forward after losing her husband and start a new chapter in her life. But during the call, she notices the same black SUV pulling into the station once again. At that moment, her suspicion turns into certainty. She quickly gets back into her car, convinced the stranger has been following her. Her fears are confirmed when the man walks up to her window. Before he can say anything, Jessica drives away. However, a white van suddenly blocks her path. Meanwhile, the stranger catches up and claims he only came to use the restroom and that she almost hit him with her car. But Jessica ignores him completely. The moment the white van moves out of the way, she drives off. Now she's speeding down the highway because, in her rearview mirror, she can see another black SUV following close behind. Convinced someone is chasing her, Jessica calls the police. But when the operator asks for her location, she's left frustrated because she doesn't even know exactly where she is. Moments later, the black SUV races past her and disappears into the darkness. Jessica realizes it isn't the same vehicle she suspected earlier. Relieved, she tells the dispatcher that she may have overreacted and ends the call. But the very next moment, her car suddenly loses control and slides off the road. After getting out, she discovers that one of the cargo trailer's tires has blown out. Then, in the distance, she spots the same black SUV heading straight toward her. Panic immediately sets in. Jessica quickly unhooks the trailer and tries to drive away, but this time her car won't start. The stranger pulls up beside her, smashes her window, and attacks her. Jessica fights back with everything she has, but he eventually injects her with a sedative, causing her to lose consciousness. The following morning, Jessica wakes up trapped inside an unfamiliar room. The windows are covered with heavy bars, and outside she can see an open field surrounded by barbed wire fencing. She looks through the locked door, searching for any possible way out, but finds none. Soon after, she hears footsteps outside. The stranger appears, and Jessica desperately begs him to let her go. He simply tells her to stay quiet before walking away. That night, he returns carrying a flashlight. While a disturbing smile spreads across his face, Jessica begs for her life again and even offers him money in exchange for her freedom, but he remains completely unmoved. He coldly tells her she isn't the first woman to plead with him like this, making it clear that he's a dangerous serial killer. He then orders Jessica to take off her clothes. Trying to protect herself, she claims she needs to use the bathroom. But as soon as she makes a run for the door, he grabs her, throws her to the floor, and drags her back to the middle of the room. Leaning in close, he kisses her face. He then picks up her iPad, where videos of Jessica and her late husband playing together are still saved. After noticing the wedding ring hanging around her neck, he asks if her husband left her. Jessica hesitates at first, but finally tells him that her husband is dead. Even that isn't enough for him. He forces her to reveal that her husband died by suicide. Only then does he leave the room. The next morning, Jessica searches for another way to escape. She tries opening the door, but quickly notices through the keyhole that the key is still stuck in the lock on the other side. Looking around the room, she manages to pull a nail from a piece of wood. She slides her jacket under the door, then carefully uses the nail to push the key out of the lock until it falls onto the jacket. Slowly pulling it back toward her, she retrieves the key, unlocks the door, and finally escapes the room. However, at that very moment, the serial killer returns home from shopping. Jessica immediately hides inside a wardrobe. As he enters the room, she watches him through a small crack in the door. Then his phone rings. From the conversation, she realizes it's his wife calling. He speaks lovingly with his young daughter and tells his wife that his business trip has been extended, so he'll be home in a few more days. After ending the call, he heads down to the basement. Seizing the opportunity, Jessica slips out of the house and runs into the forest as fast as she can. Before long, the serial killer realizes she's escaped and immediately starts chasing her. While running through the woods, Jessica suddenly falls, and a sharp branch pierces her foot. She painfully pulls it out, but her scream echoes through the forest, revealing her location to the serial killer. Even so, Jessica refuses to give up and keeps moving forward. Eventually, she reaches a fast-flowing river. The serial killer is closing in behind her, and with no other way out, she realizes jumping into the river could cost her life. Even so, she takes the risk and dives in. The powerful current carries her deep into another part of the forest, and fortunately, she manages to reach the shore alive. After climbing out of the water, Jessica continues through the woods. With her injured leg making every step painful, she uses a fallen branch as a walking stick. Moments later, she hears footsteps nearby and quickly hides. As someone approaches, she suddenly attacks with all her strength, only to realize it's not the serial killer but an elderly hunter. She immediately apologizes and explains that someone is trying to kill her. Desperate for help, she asks to borrow his phone so she can call the police, but it was accidentally broken during her attack. Feeling sorry for her, the hunter takes Jessica to his truck, gives her a pair of his wife's boots to wear, and lets her ride with him. Along the way, he offers her a sandwich and keeps encouraging her to stay strong. However, their drive comes to a sudden stop when they find a massive fallen tree blocking the entire road. Jessica panics again and tries to move it, but it's far too heavy. At that moment, the serial killer arrives. The hunter assures Jessica there's nothing to worry about, but the killer pretends to be speaking with the police and calmly claims that Jessica is his sister. He lies that she has suffered from seizures ever since an accident and has run away from home several times before. The hunter is briefly confused and almost believes the story, allowing him to take Jessica away. But the moment the killer grabs her by force, the hunter realizes something is wrong. He immediately points his rifle at the man, forcing him to let Jessica go. Taking advantage of the distraction, Jessica runs back into the forest. Meanwhile, the hunter demands the killer's phone so he can verify the story with the police. Instead, the killer drops the act, brutally attacks the elderly man, and then shoots him with the hunter's own rifle. Jessica keeps running deeper into the forest while the killer follows with the rifle. By nightfall, heavy rain begins pouring down. Jessica hides beneath a large rock to rest for a while, but unfortunately, the killer is searching the area with a flashlight. Thinking the danger has passed, she carefully steps out from her hiding place. The next instant, the killer shoots her in the shoulder. Even after being wounded, Jessica somehow escapes and hides beneath the bushes once again. The killer keeps searching for her while trying to break her mentally. He shouts that after being shot, she has only about 2 hours left to live because she'll eventually bleed to death if she doesn't come out. He taunts her to face him and even places his rifle on the ground, claiming she can pick it up and fight him if she wants. But his real goal is to force her into making a mistake. He keeps mocking her and even insults her late husband, calling him a coward in hopes of provoking her. Still, Jessica refuses to take the bait. After waiting for a long time with no response, the killer finally loses his patience and yells that he'll hunt her down himself. Even then, Jessica stays hidden. Instead of going for the rifle, she quietly waits until he picks it back up and leaves the area. Once he's gone, she cautiously comes out and continues forward despite her injuries. However, after losing so much blood and running for so long, her strength finally gives out. She eventually collapses beneath a tree and falls asleep. When she wakes up the next morning, she realizes she's still trapped deep in the forest. Even so, she pulls herself together and continues across the rough terrain. Moments later, she hears a vehicle approaching. Hiding nearby, she realizes it's the serial killer's truck. He drags the elderly hunter's body out, pulls it to a grave he had already prepared, and buries it. While he's busy covering the grave, Jessica quietly sneaks into his unlocked truck, hoping to find something she can use to contact the police. Instead, she discovers the killer's phone. By then, he's finished burying the body and starts walking back, forcing Jessica to hide in the rear of the truck. She carefully calls the police, but because she's forced to whisper, she can't clearly explain what's happening. It isn't long before the killer realizes his phone is missing. He pulls over and starts searching the truck. Jessica knows she can't stay hidden much longer. The moment he turns toward the back, she suddenly attacks him with the tire iron. In response, the killer recklessly speeds down the road while repeatedly trying to stab her. Jessica fights back with all her strength, striking his arm hard enough to knock the knife from his hand. She then tries to choke him with the tire iron and drives the same knife into his wrist. The injury causes him to lose control of the truck, and seconds later, they crash. Jessica somehow crawls out of the wreckage. Through her blurred vision, she spots a police helicopter flying overhead. Seeing it gives her hope again. She forces herself back to her feet and stumbles toward an open area. However, the serial killer is still alive. Since Jessica still has his phone, she decides his wife deserves to know the truth before either of them dies. She calls her and deliberately puts the call on speaker as the killer approaches so he can hear every word. Jessica gives her full name and says that if she dies today, her husband will be responsible because he's not on a business trip. He's a dangerous serial killer who has already murdered more than 20 women, and he also killed an elderly man right in front of her. Hearing this, the killer flies into a rage. By now, any trace of his innocent facade is gone. With nothing left to lose, the two begin their final and most dangerous fight. The killer attacks relentlessly with his knife while Jessica defends herself with the tire iron. Despite taking several blows, she refuses to give up. She finally lands a powerful strike on his injured arm and then drives the knife deep into his abdomen. Mortally wounded, the serial killer collapses to the ground and dies. Exhausted from her injuries and everything she's endured, she collapses beside him. Moments later, the helicopter spots her and lands to rescue her. This is where the story comes to an end. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel.